Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing the town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Wood and this is the Flagship show, available every Monday on podcast and video. And this is the Fleetwood away edition, featuring tonight, or this morning whenever you're listening, Northern correspondent Seb Brown, and double shirts for double victories, double goals, whatever double you want, double D. Dave Diamond, how are you guys? Let's start with Dave because of that. They're just impromptu, just off the top of my head, Dave.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Rich. Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah,
Seb, nice trip out for you yesterday as well.
Yeah, spot on, thank you. We were spoilt with the weather. It was a lovely, sunny, cold, but lovely sunny day like it was for Morecambe last week.
It was
and the same today because went to the beach. It was lovely.
It was shite here yesterday. I can honestly say it was shite all day, wasn't it? I mean, I can't believe it when someone, I think you said, when he posted what the hell's that?
Yeah,
incredible stuff.
It was a washout in Suffolk yesterday. Dave Diamond throwing it's a double S bomb for the monetizations. That's what he thinks of your selection. YouTube. That's all right. Don't worry. We'll keep it in because we're we're talking emotional things, and weather is an emotional thing.
Absolutely. I mean, what else is there to worry about?
Let's talk about some football. Football.
Go on.
So we'll be chatting about Fleetwood. Not much news to discuss this week, guys. So I suggest we just jump straight into match action. At a similar situation for ITFC Women, we'll start there with their fixture at Bridgwater down in the southwest. To borrow a Mickism, and I think we said this on Thursday on the pre-match show, Seb, no mugs, Bridgwater 5th in the league, don't lose too many games, but another iffy surface, just as the men are experiencing currently at the moment. It's seemingly every other week the ITFC women's team rock up and playing on a very questionable surface, but fortunately came out with a 1-0 victory, maintaining the good momentum from the cup win against Southampton. And Anna Gray again stealing the headlines with the only goal of the game. Sounds like a nice finish just before half-time, but unfortunately withdrawn at the break. Presumably a little injury there. But good news, a really important victory. And there's a crescendo now in terms of the league chaps. Oxford v Southampton is the fixture midweek. Lots of intrigue and insight around that. Let me just quickly put the league table up for those watching on the YouTube, and we can discuss this at the moment. So Ipswich back to the top spot with 48 points from their 19 fixtures, and Oxford and Southampton just behind. Oxford having played one game less on 46, but this is the story at the moment. Southampton with a 6-game advantage over the Tractor Girls on 36, 12 points behind. And as per some of our Twitter questions, let me lob this one in here and get some early views on this one from FBL Tractor. What results should we be wanting in the Oxford v Saints women's game this midweek? Huge fight, and both teams find 20 points is some wishful thinking there. But just to put the league table up there again for you guys to help, are we at the stage now where we just want Southampton to drop points and we don't mind if that's to Oxford? Or Seb, we were talking in the digital green room just beforehand. You want to draw here? To give us your logic on that one.
I'm always of the opinion if there's 3 points up for grab, one disappears off into the ether and only 2 get gobbled up, then that's a decent result if teams are chasing you down. I just feel that I think if you give Southampton if Southampton were to win it, I mean their fixtures is surely going to catch up with them at some point. But I wouldn't like to psychologically have Oxford level on points top of the table by beating Southampton. So I would want to draw here and then look to we've got to play Oxford as well, haven't we, as well as Southampton before the season's out. So, get a draw, keep them at arm's length a little bit, and then look to beat them both to take it home comfortably.
So, Dave, I'm from the school of thought, which is if I put the league table back up here, Oxford beat Southampton is really helpful to take points away from Southampton, because that game's advantage is so significant, isn't it? But as Seb says, it actually puts Oxford ahead of us by 1 point, but we have to play them at the Gold Star ground. So surely you back yourself in that situation, if Oxford win, to beat Oxford if you need to, and Oxford still have games to play. To Seb's point, Southampton have fixture congestion. They're in the League Cup today. They've got another League Cup game coming up, obviously the final, I think. They've withdrawn from some Southern Cup with Bournemouth. Are you thinking Southampton's games catch up with them when they start dropping points? What's your theory?
I mean, you would think so, but just look at their dominance. I mean, okay, we obviously went there and won, but they conceded. Did I see that right? They conceded 3 goals. 3.
There you go. And 2 of them are against us.
That was quite remarkable. I mean, then you're right, and 2 against us, albeit no different. Okay, not a great different to our first team's run under McKenna. Really, up 12 games, not a huge amount of difference there. But yeah, I think I'm with Seb. Really, I think a draw wouldn't be the worst result in the world, really, and hopefully back Ipswich, back the girls to beat Oxford at Fortress, Delwood, and then and also the Saints game later on in the season. What you said about the surface, I think perhaps we underestimate just how good the surface has been at Felixstowe, to be fair. And I know we've seen it. We saw last week. I mean, it was just the surface was pretty good, but I mean, just no bare patches, was it? It was bumpy and it was windy, of course. But other than that, I think from what what you've said, Rich, about the surfaces elsewhere, they've been awful. So I think more kudos to Felixstowe for preparing such a good surface for the ladies to play on.
That being said, their match was abandoned on the weekend for a waterlogged pitch at the Gold Star.
Was it really?
Yeah,
well, there you go.
But it was relentless. It could have rained for a whole day, pretty much, didn't it? So,
well, it did. It did, to be fair. But yeah, okay. But it was, I think
it's not patchy,
we shouldn't underestimate it.
It
isn't. No, exactly. That's where I was going with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the goal mouths at this level are always a little bit iffy this time of year. But
yeah, they are.
Yeah, certainly not images put up on the club Twitter and that kind of stuff for the last few weeks. MK Dons away, Crawley away, just absolute shockers.
Yeah, there was some shockers, weren't there?
And Joe Sheehan at full time kind of saying, the team have had to mentally figure out how to get victories or get results in these kind of conditions, and that only bodes well for as the pitches improve, and hopefully as the team rise up the pyramid, this will be less of an issue as well.
I mean, where do you stand on the whole? Well, I think I know where you stand on the whole debate with regard to the upcoming cup match and the venue. Is it even up for debate as far as
I don't know,
you're concerned?
So that's what I don't know, and I was hoping that we'd be able to catch up with Kieran Stanley from ITFC Women this week. So we'll figure that one out, and hopefully we will. I don't know whether, and I might have picked this up and might be totally wrong on this, so don't start making any plans based on what I'm about to say. But I think at the semi-final stage in the the quarter-final stage, particularly because there's only 1/3 tier team left, and that is pretty uncommon anyway. Yeah. Elite level protocols start to come in, which I think are standard in the Championship and the WSL, which might possibly make the Gold Star unsuitable because of that. And I don't know whether television might be a factor as well. I don't know if they've announced the televised games yet, but if Ipswich are one of the games on TV, I would suspect the infrastructure just isn't there to support that. So that would make it Portman Road. And it's obviously the weekend, if I just remember correctly what the fixtures are, it's the weekend of the 19th, 20th. I think we're away.
Oxford away.
So it's kind of convenient in that respect. So I suspect the club will announce something quite soon about that. If it doesn't come down to logistics and infrastructure and all the nerdy stuff, that doesn't really matter when it comes to football, frankly. I think Gold Star is a competitive advantage, isn't it? I mean, do we agree with that?
I think without question. I mean, West Ham, I'm not sure where they played I'm not sure where they play their games. I assume they don't play at London. Well, I know they don't play at London Stadium, but yeah. I mean, it's all through the years we've seen the great cup upsets. I mean, probably the most famous cup upset of the lot. Well, I can vaguely remember. You've seen the pictures. It was probably Hereford against Newcastle way back in the early 70s. And remember you seeing the pitch for the Ronnie Radford goal. I mean, it is like a plat field, and it is a hell of a. It's not saying the Gold Star's anywhere like that, but you would assume it won't. The surface, although we've just been bigging it up, won't be any near as good as what West Ham are used to playing on. So it is a leveller, but it's a double-edged sword for the team, isn't it? They love, no doubt, what an opportunity to play at Portman Road against a top team, on a brilliant surface, brilliant facilities. But then do you negate your chances? I think you do of ultimately springing an upset and winning the game. I think you probably do.
Just to say that I think, and again, feel free to correct us on Twitter, YouTube, in the comments. I believe West Ham's women's team play at the Rush Green Stadium.
Yes, I think I saw that. Yeah,
which doesn't look particularly salubrious. I think it's where Grays Athletic play. I believe.
Yeah, it is.
So bigger capacity, certainly, but it's not like playing at Plough Lane or something like that, like AFC Wimbledon or MK Dons, where MK Dons play when they don't play good teams like Ipswich and Southampton. So it'll be interesting to see. As I say, I think the decision might be forced. It's been forced upon me. But if it isn't, I would be going for Gold Star, and we will be certainly supporting as many people to get there as possible and produce the atmosphere, Dave, that was pivotal.
It's brilliant. I mean, hopefully, if it is at Portman Road, maybe they'll relax the alcohol rules, and you can actually sit around having a beer whilst leaning on the advertising boards, watching the game. I would assume not, but look, whatever happens, Rich, it'll be a great occasion, won't it? Brilliant occasion for it. I mean, we were there last week. It was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? Yep. So and you can see how much it meant to the team and everybody. It was unbelievable, just incredible, wasn't it? The final kick of the game and then the penalties, amazing.
Yep. That's and we can tick one of that's off our kind of football bucket list, seeing a goalkeeper score a goal.
We've done that now. Goal. It was an imperious header, wasn't it? Absolutely bulleted in.
It was incredible. So congrats to the ITFC women's team. As I say, we certainly in the build up to West Ham will be doing hopefully some more player interviews. We'll try and get the lowdown from Kieran next week if we can. If something, I'm sure something's going to be announced rather than being announced through the podcast. But you never know. We like to break news here as well. So we will keep you posted on that one. And the team are in league action next week. I think it's Cardiff away, so a bit of a trek before they face West Ham. So, but according to my analysis, apart from Southampton and Oxford, ITFC don't have to play a team who are currently higher than 8th in the league. So the fixture list is pretty convenient or kind. A lot of those games at home as well for the remainder of the campaign.
Rack those goals up.
Get the goal difference sorted. Exactly right. We'll be back after this to talk about Fleetwood.
With wings more crisp than a James Norwood finish, ribs meatier than a Sam Morsey tackle, and chicken tastier than Wes Burns, Favourite is Britain's tastiest chicken. And as a listener of the Blue Monday podcast, you can get 20% off by entering BM20 at the checkout. Order direct from their menu at chicken-ipswich.co.uk. They'll deliver anywhere within a 2.7 mile radius of the store. And if you're not quite as local as the Bond family, you can click and collect. The store is located just off Hadley Road. Favourite, Britain's tastiest chicken.
There you go. Mikey's back in the voiceover chair. That's what we want. Let's talk about Fleetwood, gentlemen. Let's start with a lineup, shall we? Seb, should we start with Fleetwood for once? For a change in the pre-match show, we were bigging up the absentees up front, but there were some important re-emergences from injury, if that's a word. Talk to us about this team.
They changed things up, didn't they? So obviously we predicted a 4-1-4-1 because that's what they went with away to Wigan. And obviously because we predicted it, they did something completely different. They went to a 3 at the back system to match us up, I guess, to incorporate Toto back against us. We'll discuss him, I guess, in depth later. The 2 wing backs, Danny Andrew and Callum Johnson, who are normally the full backs, they were playing as wing backs. Johnston and Camps continued in midfield. Paddy Lane was back, which is a big boost for them. He's made 21 appearances. I think it's 5 goals, 8 assists. So he's a key player for them. them. And then it wasn't really like it's there on the screen. There it's a 3-5-2. It was kind of a 3-4-2-1. You had Pilkington and Lane sort of just behind Harrison. Harrison was the focal point, and they were trying to sort of link the midfield with the with Harrison. And then back on the bench was Garner, wasn't he? Not Joey Garner. Gerard Garner was back on the bench after a lengthy absence since, I think it was just before or just after Christmas maybe. Didn't get on the pitch, but he was back on the bench to boost their attacking options.
Yeah, no Joe Garner, Dave. Do you see the scrap that he had in midweek?
Yeah, I mean, it's two sort of feisty characters. I mean, McLean's no shrinking violet, is he, for goodness sake? So it's like something at WWE, wasn't it, for God's sake? It was just all kicked off. And yeah, I mean, the ref had no other option, I think, that the double red card there. So yeah, I wasn't totally sorry that Garner was out yesterday, I must admit.
No, he's definitely can mix it up, shall we say. Good to see some ex-ITFC interest, as you said, Seb, in Toto Nsiala and Ellis Harrison as well. Making a fist of things there at Fleetwood after a spell at Portsmouth. As for Ipswich, as always, we kind of know that you're going to get 7 of the 11 who are pretty consistent. It's who's going to slot alongside Morsey and who's going to play in the front three positions. Again, this image that we're showing on YouTube for is a bit weird. I think it was a 4-4-2 and 3-4-1-2, wasn't it? What do you think about Selena slotting in alongside Morsey, Dave, and Piggott and Jackson up front?
Yeah, I mean, Selena's so talented. I must admit, I was a bit surprised that Backinson didn't start alongside Morsey. And pleasantly surprised it was Selena, really. I don't know. So I didn't see any of the game yesterday. I listened to most of it, second half on Radio Suffolk, and yeah, I think from what I understand, Selena started really, really quite brightly, and played one or two nice through balls and stuff, and then as he has done, and I felt he has done, I think we have as a collective felt he has done in recent games, faded a little bit, but obviously we'll get on to how his position evolved and changed during the game. But yeah, the rest of it I was pleased. I think we may have mentioned before, I think Piggott perhaps deserved another chance. I mean, obviously not for his goal scoring attributes at the moment, but I thought the last time out he played and started, I thought he did okay, and McKenna thought so also. So yeah, all in all, I think I was quite happy with that.
Yep. Seb, last time out at Morecambe, obviously Norwood and Bonn up front, and Jackson and Chaplin came off the bench and made an impression. Your kind of thoughts on Bonn and Norwood being withdrawn and Chaplin, and again, set pieces there. We'll talk about those in a bit as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts.
Not a surprise. Norwood and Bonn never got going last week at all, so it wasn't a surprise for them to be benched. And I think when you bring in Chaplin, Selena, you're bringing in just technically better players, aren't you? You've got Norwood, the Bash brothers they're called, aren't they? Norwood and Bonn are great if you want to try and rough it up and do that kind of thing. But if you're bringing in the likes of Selena, Chaplin, and Piggott with his hold-up play, which I guess we'll discuss in a bit, they're just technically better footballers. And seeing Selena start in the central midfield position was a bit of a surprise. Obviously, it signalled to be a very attacking lineup from when we saw it, but it just worked really well, and it's just a more fluid, I guess, kind of footballing side than perhaps you get with the more streetwise notions of Bonn and Norwood.
Though maybe requires Morsey to sit more than.
Well, that's the sacrifice, isn't it? Yeah, you sacrifice Morsey getting forward. We'll talk about the goal and Backinson obviously coming on and making that difference. But for the first half, yeah, Morsey was just the very deep lying player to allow Selena to try and break forward and look to create things. So you do sacrifice that attacking instinct we've seen from Morsey since McKenna took over.
And Matt Penny was fit enough to make a return on the bench as well, which is another helpful option to have. I mean, the first 10 minutes, Seb, you were there, so you feel free to give us your insights from the away end. Chaplin involved in two kind of big moments, one creating, the other taking a shot. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there were sort of three things from Chaplin in the first half. So about 5 minutes in, as a corner swung in, the corner delivery was so much better yesterday. They were more whipped and hit with purpose into the corridor of uncertainty, as we call it, where the keeper has to either commit or someone has to put a big boot on it to clear it. But they were just so much better quality. After 5 minutes, he puts one in, and Edmondson kind of bundles it wide at the near post. He put one in later as well, which sort of bounced, I think, in the middle of the penalty spot, and Danassian was running in, and I thought he was just going to tap it home, but he was implying he was kind of pulled back and stuff. But the set piece delivery was so much better. And Chaplin had one effort as well, where he kind of has a bit of a link up play with, I think it was Pigott, one of 2 or 3 times Pigott sort of dropped deep and really sprayed the ball around nicely, and he gets it onto his left foot and gets a shot away, but just no power in it, not to trouble the keeper.
And there's something on. Is there something about 17 minutes in again? Another effort for Chaplin, quite close in, but starts from Pigott picking the ball up in deep and getting the ball out to him. Do you remember that one as well?
Yeah, he pings it out. So yeah, a couple of times Pigott was sort of taking a touch, but with back to goal, he's absolutely superb. You know, he's a really real handful when he's got his back to goal, and his awareness was really good. He pings it out wide to Burns. I think that was the effort where Burns played it into Chaplin. He gets it onto his left foot, and it's a bit of a P roller. A similar instance was when Burns had an effort from the outside of the D on target, but couldn't really get his foot around it. You know, he kind of tried to curl it with his right foot, couldn't really get anything behind it. Pigott had an effort as well, deflected over. He looked to shoot on sight. And then we had the one where the keeper kind of ran out to clear his lines, made a bit of a hash of it. And I guess he was trying to do like Selena did against Crewe back in November. Pigott goes for the chip, but it kind of harmlessly floats over the bar. But we were creating these chances. We were creating better quality cut chances, I would say, better clear cut chances than at Morecambe. So we were all pretty encouraging the way in, to be honest.
There was an effort for Andrew, I think in both halves actually, but certainly first half where cross shot, it's at Walton, but he has to claim it again on the pitch. That's no mean feat.
The pitch was awful. Yeah, it cut up really quickly. It was a really poor pitch.
Was the flip side of creating more of these chances that we perhaps a little bit more open? Was that anything that you noticed?
Not really. I mean, they didn't threaten at all. They were a really poor side. Harrison kind of won a few things in the air. You know, we know what he's like. He's a presence up front. He likes to put himself about a little bit. He was pretty good in the air, to be honest, in the first half. He was winning things, but there was no real threat apart from that effort where it fell to Andrew and he kind of hit it on his left foot, didn't he? But it was a relatively comfortable save by Walton.
Andrew's got a great left foot. His usually set piece deliveries are usually good, but I don't really think and he's also got a throw on him as well, hasn't he? But I don't think reading between the lines, don't think they have any set plays at all, did they?
No, we dealt with everything comfortably. There were a couple of long throws in the first half. He would come over to the right-hand side and look to launch them in, but we dealt with it all really comfortably. It was very much like Cheltenham and like Morecambe. You know, we absolutely dominated the ball, passed it around nicely, had a few good moments, created a couple of opportunities, and you know, we were all pretty confident. It felt a bit different in terms of the chances created at half-time. We were kind of thinking, okay, this does feel a little bit better because the chances we were creating and noticeably looking to get bodies into the box meant we kind of thought we were going to nick one at some point.
And this, I guess, teams are going to have figured out now that Burns at kind of right wing back is he's not a defensive wing back, is he? Unlike Thompson down the left. So was the balance very much towards the right hand side? And is it something that for us to be figuring out? And maybe Pat Penny comes in at some point because of that lopsidedness of our attack, Seb, or did the ball go? Were we passing all over the place as we did against Morecambe?
We were pinging it out both sides, but it was noticeable that Thompson doesn't like to, you know, beat his man and get to the byline and whip a ball in, whereas that's what Burns wants to do. It was noticeable that Danassian was always getting up in support of Burns as well. So in effect, you almost had, you know, Danassian was basically a right back at times and Burns was almost like a right forward. Danassian was so far forward at some points that we were definitely looking to double up on that side and try and create something. And most of the good stuff in the first half did come down that side.
45 minutes just before half time, Dave, Joe Pigott's going to have this effort that hits the post. And is this the chance he had at Burton, is it, I think, where he hits the post as well? There's a couple of efforts Seb mentioned from long range. Does he just need to hit a scuffy, crappy little tap?
He's almost, I mean, he does a great strike yesterday and just drifted. He should have scored, but just drifted wide, clips the outside of the post. And against Burton, exactly the same. He probably does everything right, but do you know what? He's a striker he's obviously not scoring goals, perhaps a bit of loss of confidence in front of goal, I don't think, in his all-round play. And he's just been too deliberate. Do you know what I mean? You know, you look at some of the Bond goals early. So, okay, Bond scored some brilliant goals, but there was some, you know, when you're on a goal-scoring run like that, scuff shots go in the net. You know, Christ, we saw Marcus Stewart in the great season do its balls were going in against Arsenal off his shoulder and off his backside and everything. You know, when you're on a run like that, you just do. You know, these strikers are so confident; they just do. It's second nature. You know, they do things without thinking. And yeah, he's just been, I think, too deliberate. He's very unlucky. He should score it. Of course, he should score, but it's just the way it's going for him at the moment.
Yeah, and we've got a question about. We'll come back to Piggott. We've got a question about Piggott.
You know, that shot. You know, he hits it well. That shot curls away from the keeper, ends up in the side net, and you think, "Well, what a strike! What a goal!"
Yeah.
But you're talking fractions, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly right. Millimeters, maybe. Seb, from your vantage point at the away end, were you thinking this is in? And also, I mean, hindsight from someone who's never played football at any level of particular, but the near post is an option for him as well here, isn't it? The whole goal.
Roll it in the near post. He does well, doesn't he? You know, he gets a bit lucky with the break off the defender, and like Dave said, he just hits it too well. And he looked distraught when he missed it as well. He looked proper downfallen. But the away end, gave him a really good reception from it and stuff, and looked to pick him back up again. And it's just the way his season's going, isn't it? It's 95% really good play and really direct running and decent play. But it's that 5% that he's currently missing out on. But I thought personally he played well yesterday. I thought he did well. But like you say, maybe just roll it at the near post and roll it past the keeper. But he's done everything right. And it's if it's 5 centimeters the other way, it's a goal and he's up and running. But unfortunately, it's the way it's going for him.
Yeah. Start of the second half, then Seb, McKenna's post-match, which I can always recommend for listening to. You always hear something. Well, you hear lots of things that make lots of sense. You're not going to be patronised. You're not going to be gaslit by someone about performances. Very much worthwhile listening to Kieran McKenna. He was saying that at halftime it was a case of reinstilling some of the belief in what we were doing. Maybe heads have started to drop a little bit. That similar to Cheltenham and Morecambe, the goal hadn't come. The surface was problematic. But to me, the start of the second half is a little bit sloppy. There's an effort for Clark, isn't there? Quite close in.
Yeah.
Walton's called into action.
Yes, it was the first time it was the first time they did anything with a set piece. It's a long diagonal ball forward from the set piece from Andrew. I think Wolfenden flicks it on. He tried to clear it and flicked it on, and Clark sort of hits it. He's a centre back. He sort of hits it on a half volley and gets a good connection. And Walton, he's had almost nothing to do all game, but he's alert and he gets round and he tips around the post really well because he had Harrison was right there for any kind of spill. If he hadn't got a strong left hand on it, Harrison's going to tap that ball home. But he gets down and tips it round, and that's what you want from your keeper. He's done nothing really all game, but he's switched on and he's alert. And we did kind of start a little bit sloppy in the second half, but we soon started to rack it back up again.
Just very quickly on Walton, Dave, these kind of shots, I've got Dean Gherkin in my head of
Have you?
shots. Yeah, as in the total antithesis of Walton. And this is, in terms of the clean sheets, obviously as a unit, as a defensive unit, they're set up very much better than they were under Cook. But Walton just does not give any margin for any of these kind of shots that come into him quite close into his body and spill out. Because these are the secondary chances that teams used to gobble up against us. And Gherkin was, I'm picking on him, but he's definitely a spiller, isn't he?
I think perhaps thinking back last season, Holy at times as well. You'd get him spread himself and make a good save, but instead of a strong hand pushing it out, the strong hand or arm would push it out left. The strong hand or arm, I'm just talking that way, would push it out. For a striker to, as you say, gobble up. So he's just a class goalkeeper. It's I don't think you can underestimate the importance that signing's been. He just instills confidence in the whole back unit, doesn't he? Or right through the team. He comes for crosses, he catches crosses. Just phenomenal goalkeeper, I think.
Yep. And it makes a difference. We've got a question on him as well, so we'll come back to him later on. 66 minutes though, Seb, this substitution, Backinson for Piggott. What's your thought? Just explain to us Morsey's situation leading up to this change, and what was anything noticeable afterwards?
So Morsey, obviously, because he's got Selina next to him, he's playing the disciplined role. So he played well in the first half. He was everywhere. He was winning his tackles, but we didn't really see any of those runs that he's been making in recent weeks. He was very much having to, sit back and do the screening work to allow the likes of Selina and Chaplin to do their stuff further up the pitch. So it was noticeable that in the first half he did very little. And obviously Backinson coming on, we were all a bit surprised because at that point Selina had been quite quiet for sort of the second half of the first half and the start of the second half, and we kind of thought, okay, maybe he'll be the one to come off and it'll be a like-for-like central midfield change to free Morsey up. But obviously he takes Piggott off. Piggott's hold-up play was good. Like you say, we've got a question, so we'll come on and discuss him. But it just gave that freedom. Suddenly you've got Jackson through the middle. When it was a 3, Jackson was noticeably on Enciala on the left-hand side, but he suddenly went into the middle more, which then allowed Chaplin and Selena to play in that sort of, number 10 roles behind him. And obviously Morsey could then look to make those runs he's been doing in recent weeks because he's got the insurance policy of Backinson behind him. So with hindsight, as we're about to discuss, it's a fantastic tactical change by McKenna.
Yeah, no coincidence. 6 minutes later, you mentioned Chaplin. Burns is involved and Morsey's involved too.
Yeah, so, really good awareness to take the free quickly. So what's crucial here is that it's one of the centre halves, it's Zach Jules, that takes Chaplin out. Chaplin very up on his feet quickly, passes it. So suddenly the centre-back is out of position and their back five, which it was because the two wing-backs weren't getting forward at all, is suddenly a back four. You've got Jackson making sort of a clever run. He pings it into Selena. That's where you want Selena. That's what he wasn't really doing in the first half when he had to be slightly deeper. He suddenly got it in that little bit of space. He's looking to run towards the back line. Plays a lovely ball out to Burns. Burns takes a touch, puts great accuracy and great pace on the ball. And then you've got Morsey for the first time in the match doing one of the runs forward, and he's there to side foot it home. But because obviously you've got the player out of position, Enciala goes across with Clark and with Andrew to where the ball is, to where Jackson is. And that creates the space for Morsey just to run onto and tap the ball home. And with hindsight, like we said, it was a great decision to bring Backinson on. It really made the difference. And suddenly, you could see it in the team, the confidence that started to lift from them. The bench went crazy, we all went crazy, and then you're starting to think, right, we've got this one now, and this could easily be 2 or 3 more.
And Dave, Morsey says afterwards, I've scored 500 of those in training. You can imagine it, can't you, knowing how McKenna works, can't you?
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. I mean, just a word on the substitution, really. I would confidently predict that our previous 2 managers, you'd have seen a like-for-like substitution, and Piggott would have gone off, and Jackson would and Piggott would have gone off and been replaced by Bonner and Allwood. Yeah, quite so. At the time, and well, it was good yesterday. Tommy Miller was co-coms yesterday on Radio Suffolk yesterday. Really, really good. He thought, this could, as you said, he thought that might have been Selena, but then when it happened, after he scored the goal, he said, you can see the benefit. You can see the tactical nous there that it's released Selena 10, 15 yards forward, and there's the benefit.
Yeah. And I don't have any action or notes written down between the goals, Seb. Nothing.
Very little. There was a long ball forward from Fleetwood, which we thought Harrison was going to get onto the end to, but in the end he kind of played it out to Hayes in like a wide left kind of position, and Wolfenden and Edmondson were just strong and shepherded the ball out, and that was it really until the second goal.
And Dave, we've talked about Selena maybe fading a little bit, but then suddenly he's got the X factor, hasn't he? And another. Great.
You watch his goal back. It's just a lovely goal, a lovely, quite simple goal, but such a clever goal. And Thompson does well initially. The ball is played right across the park. I think Wolfenden plays it left to Edmondson, who then just plays a sort of little diagonal ball, as we see, to Thompson, who does well, stands up his man, as you say, doesn't go outside him. He doesn't like that, does he? But comes inside cleverly and rolls the ball initially inside to Selena, and this is where it's good. Selena, and this is where he finds it, but Selena just first time ball back to Morsey, and then Selena just drifts off, and you can see if you follow Selena, he just drifts off and finds that 10-yard pocket of space, and it's good for Morsey because again Morsey then advances with the ball 5, another 5-10 yards. It's so simple, just slips a simple ball to Selena. Really clever from Jackson. No disrespect to Macaulay Bond, but maybe there would have been a whistle at this point, but it's a clever run from Jackson. It's a clever run from Jackson off the last defender's shoulder, and it's just a simple diagonal. What again, 10-15 yard ball from Selena, and a really, really composed finish. I mean, they said on Suffolk that he took it round the keeper. He didn't really. He opened up the angle on his left foot and confidently just slips it inside the near post, low to Ken's right. It's a really nice goal. That really well constructed.
Yeah, really, the pace on the ball from Selena is lovely as well, isn't it? Because Jackson doesn't have to take a touch or do anything. He's had to break stride. He can just roll it first time, and
that's what Selena can do. But the whole move it's a lovely constructed goal actually. Good grief, McKenna must have been absolutely, you just seen, the tactical nous right there.
Again, Jackson admitted as much. They've been working on that as well in training, timing that run. Because that's the thing. I think against that back line, we mentioned Clark. We know Enciala isn't great for pace. I don't know much about Jules is it the other one, but he doesn't need to set off so quickly because he knows that he's got that initial 5 yards
The
advantage.
explosiveness, yeah.
They're not going to beat him for pace. And
Yeah, no, he
you
leaves
say
them
very
dead.
calm, Dave. And yeah, sorry,
it's a super finish. He really does. He sort of stands the goalkeeper up. So he gives him the eyes, but yeah, just like I said, just strokes it in the near post. He did everything that, as we said, Pigott didn't do with his chance in the first half.
Yeah, killer instinct. Sorry, Seb.
No, I was just saying, because he's explosive, he can make that initial run, and Nsiala's, nowhere near him. Clark's not great against pace. And at that point, Callum Johnson, the right back, is nowhere near it. So it's a clever run, beautiful ball, and a lovely goal. And well deserved. 2-0 was well deserved. 1-0 we'd have all taken given the last couple of games, but 2-0 put a much fairer reflection on it. It was really well deserved. It was a really dominant performance, and we did play really well.
Just going back to Nsiala, did he not get some grief yesterday from the?
I started to feel sorry for him. I mean,
I didn't know whether we wanted to talk about it, but we'll talk about it.
Well, yeah.
Because they were attacking they were defending the away end first. We were attacking the away end behind the goal. So he was there for the whole time. And the first thing he did was sort of put Thompson out, almost over the back with his strength. And then he shanked one out of play, and that's when it all starts. And then the poor guy, at 1-0, it's Toto, what's the score? At 2-0, he's getting abuse as well.
Seriously?
I felt sorry for him by the end, but that's the
look for all his. My take on that, for all his limitations, he never gave less than. You couldn't say he wasn't committed. For us, we
was the guys I was with. We were saying, it's not his fault that he wasn't good enough. He's brought in to replace Adam Webster, for God's sake. That's not his fault. It's not his fault. But that's the world we live in, I guess. Harrison got a bit of stick as well, but he deserved that a little bit more because he was kind of leaving it on Edmondson a couple of times and putting a couple of late nasty challenges. But the stuff on Toto, I thought was a bit unfair.
It's a shame, really, because our travelling sport is generally quite good, but it's not going to be an uncommon occurrence, is it? In football terraces up and down the country, it's just a bit of a shame that we can't give respect to players who have tried their all. Might have been part of the club at a really crappy time in our history. Might not be the players that we wanted them to be, but the manager is in charge at the time. Pick the teams they think are best, aren't they? So we wish Toto all the best for the rest of his career at Fleetwood. So. I was just going to my final comments before we sum up the match, which very much feels like a Cheltenham, a Morecambe performance, but with goals. Seb, kind of pretty fair.
Yeah. Spot on.
Is Selena it feels like Selena's like Neo in the Matrix, when at the end he kind of sees the world in Matrix code. Like those kind of passes, there are not too many players at League One level certainly that can make that assist to Jackson. And it is the X factor that could be the difference between wins and losses, isn't it? We just need to figure out a way to get this personnel right so that we don't, as we were saying earlier, just lose the new threat that we've gained through Morsey. But guys, another win, another clean sheet. And for the first time this season, if I put the graph up for those watching on YouTube, our points tally now exceeds the points we've gathered by the same point last season. So our terrible start has kind of been negated, though we obviously didn't finish in the top 6 last season. But nevertheless, another kind of flourish or a cherry on top of the weekend result. So there you go. But a dominant performance. And
the clean sheet is superb. Is it 2 goals conceded now in something like 9 games or something crazy? Edmondson and Wolfenden and Donassi, they're just absolutely superb. You never feel like we're in any real danger. I know Fleetwood weren't great and Morecambe, etc., weren't great, but you never really feel like you're in danger. Whereas in the past, got under Cook, we would concede 2 a game on average or whatever it was. Under the new regime and with those guys in the back 3, you just feel so confident the whole game.
Who was your man of the match, Seb?
Morsey.
Morsey,
play even in the first half when he was playing deeper, he was snapping around and winning those balls, interceptions and stuff. And for me, Morsey, and then Selena and Pigott with notable mentions as well. And Wolfenden was really good.
Again, Wolfenden.
Effortlessly. He's making it look so easy. His reading of the game is superb. A couple of times when, Harrison's a big, burly kind of physical presence and Wolfenden just reads the game brilliantly, steps up and wins the ball, and he's purring.
He's beefed up a bit as well, hasn't he? He's bigger, isn't he? He's bigger. He's imposing now, isn't he?
Yeah. I predict Morsey's going to go on a goal-scoring run now, guys. There you go. I've said it.
We go.
That's what we want. Let's do some questions, shall we? And let's do these in no particular order. Shefford Blue, Seb. how much does not having a left-sided central defender affect our play? In my opinion, Thompson has to be more defensive-minded to stop too much pressure on Edmondson, who's playing on his weaker side. You also talked about how Donasian, as a right centre-back, is offering attacking options for Burns. We could have talked about this lopsidedness. Are you concerned of that being an issue at all?
Not really, to be honest. No, I mean, Edmondson seems to be pretty comfortable playing there. I think he's come out and said he doesn't mind playing the left-hand side at all. He didn't really do any of his runs yesterday. In the last few games, we've seen him pick the ball up and look to drive, but, the pitch wasn't great at all, so I'm not sure it was entirely the game for that. But, no, I just think Thompson I think he's a left-back, isn't he? He's a left-back playing as a left wing-back, so he's not comfortable to look to beat his man and whip across him. I don't think it's because of who's sort of inside him, and I think Edmondson looks pretty comfortable, to be honest, in that position.
Yep. Okay. Fine, good. David Rowe, from one Dave to another. Is it a coincidence that Tam went away when Matthew has the afternoon off? Your mate Tommy Miller drove up to Fleetwood in his Audi TT.
In his Audi TT, man, it was good. Yeah. I sent him a message actually. Yeah, he was good. He always comes across really well. Ironically, I think the last co-coms he was on was Barrow, the away game. So he couldn't. It was all uphill for him from there, wasn't it? So no, he always comes across really well, and I didn't get to hear what he's up to aside from obviously yesterday he left Spennymoor, I think. November time, I think. So I'm not sure what he's up to in that respect now. But yeah, he came over really well.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent.
I've got to say, funny enough, Jordan, when we listened to the goal, and he said it sounded like Tommy Miller describing a Tommy Miller goal, and he's probably spot on, actually.
It's a great shout, yeah. Arriving, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good analogy, that one. Yeah, right person for that.
Yeah.
It was a proper question from David. Sorry, but let's ask you a match-related something from Sully. Our mate Sully in New York.
Hey, Sully.
What an absolute pleasure to listen to another audio-related question, to listen to McKenna post-match after the crap we've had to put up with these past many years. Can you imagine actually explaining game tactics to us, breath of fresh air, etc.? We've mentioned this already, but yeah, McKenna.
It just gets more impressive, doesn't it? It's easier when the team's playing well, and we got a win for we actually got goals that I play deserved yesterday. But he is just a breath of fresh air. And what I did like about yesterday, he was very quick to praise Pigott. And his all round play. Yeah, he very, very impressive young. Well, he's young to me. Very impressive young man. Speaks really well. No BS at all. More the same. What I did notice, and he's starting to get, you watched the EFL show last night, and Ali, the summariser. Yeah, he's people are really starting to sit up and take notice. He's obviously really big on him and a big fan. Interesting. The rest of this season, if the rest of the season pans out positively, his stock is going to be really in the ascendancy, isn't it? Goodness me. Interesting enough, Michael Carrick apparently was there again. So what price him turning up on the coaching staff at some point?
Yeah. Consultant, that's what we want. Yeah. He could probably just still do a job at League One.
I think he probably could.
I think we've got enough options there for now, though.
You could probably, not being funny, you could probably do a job at Man U.
Well, did you?
On the park.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah. I imagine Man United fans feel like we do about the derby now against Norwich. It must be hell playing Man City under Pep. But one day maybe fortunes will flip around. Worth mentioning, as you said, Ali Maxwell, George Ellett, the guys from Not the Top 20 Pods, did a 15-minute segment at the end of the Forest Sheffield United match on Sky on Friday night and talked through 4 young technical coaches that are coming through, of which Kieran McKenna was the first one, along with Mark Bonner at Cambridge, Liam Manning as well, and Joe, I want to say James Robury, at Newport. So he features in that. We're doing a retweet off our Twitter account, so you can find it there. But head over to Sky Sports Football. I think you'll find it there. And the top 20 guys are definitely worth a follow and a listen and a subscribe if you don't already. One more audio question, Dave, purely coincidentally, from Tim Pashley, who asks, isn't it strange that the owners have been quiet during this massive improvement? I think Brett Johnson tweeted yesterday with Mark
He
Detmer?
did. He had his crash helmet on, didn't he? After the last celebration, goal celebration he had. So yeah, that was interesting. A good point he made there, Tim. They had been a bit quiet of late, but funny enough, as soon as I read that, I think up they popped on Twitter. So yeah, they've got, again, they're quietly obviously letting the manager go about his business, and it's working, isn't it?
Isn't it where I'll get Seb's view on this one? Isn't it kind of the thing where if things are going well, you don't really need to hear from the ownership?
Yeah, absolutely. No need, is there? They've got Ashton and O'Leary doing the day-to-day running, so they can be the mouthpiece for them. It's great that we see these coffee morning watch-alongs in Los Angeles. They seem to be doing, but yeah, if it's not broken, there's no real need for them to step up, is there?
No. Yeah, and we haven't heard. To be fair, we haven't heard from O'Leary and Ashton in a while as well. I think maybe an interview on the website and stuff like that. Obviously, they did program notes, I'm sure, but I think I'd rather hear from Kieran McKenna.
Well, McKenna does it so well, doesn't he? The interviews from McKenna are superb. You read the story on TWTD, and it's probably 4 or 5 times longer than it used to be under Cook and Lambert. And you don't get spouted the same crap week in, week out. So there's no need to hear from anybody else, because what he says is so eloquent and so superb to listen to.
And he always puts himself up. I don't think I've heard. I mean, maybe I've missed it. I don't think I've heard anything from Martin Pert at all.
No, same. Yeah. No. Maybe we'll get him on the pod. Come on the pod, Martin. We'd love to speak to you. And bring Kevin, the performance coach, who Craig is
outed. He was outed earlier,
wasn't he? Yellow shoes. So well done, Craig. You can finally sleep well at night. And now we know who that person is. Moving us on, Sticky 74. My main concern for the summer, Seb. He didn't say Seb, but I'm pointing it to you. If we don't go up, is whether any players have non-promotion release clauses in their contracts. Any intel, rumors, or thoughts on that one? I guess it is a gamble, isn't it? Depending on how ambitious we were.
I guess the only one you probably think maybe that would apply to is Morsey, if you've got him to step down. The Selena's alone, so no real issue there. And, it just seems to be that we've heard from Ashton saying about this whole running towards adversity kind of sales thing. I get the impression that the vast majority of these players are here for the journey, if that kind of makes sense. I think we've gone away now from the days of the journeyman, haven't we? Under Mick and under Lambert, we'd get players in who either had injury histories or were at the wrong end of their careers and stuff, and this just feels like we're building a close sort of nucleus of a youngish team to look to take us forward. So under McKenna, I was a bit concerned when he came in how the likes of Morsey and Evans, the real Cook favourites, Chaplin as well, would react. But why would you want to move on at this point? We pay really good money compared to probably half the bottom of the championship. You can be part of something special. Right. You've had 12 games now where you've seen exactly what the manager can do. By all accounts, the training sessions and stuff are absolutely superb. So I can't really see why you would want to move on and not be part of next year. Because if we do stay down next year, God, the optimism going into the summer is going to be fantastic, isn't it?
I think you're right. I think it's the coaching, isn't it? They can see, these experienced players can, and ex-championship players can just see what he brings as a coach on the training pitch, and everyone can see it, the benefits, and just the general fitness of the squad. I mean, they're so much fitter than they were. You think at the start of the season they were blowing at 70 minutes, but not now.
So the short answer, Sticky, is no, we don't have any intel on any non-promotion release clauses, but we hope for the best. Exactly right, Seb. Yeah, spot on. Talking of signings, actually, this question from Les Bailey's a good one. Where do you think we'd be without the last-minute summer signings of Morsey and Walton, who, it has to be said, were Paul Cook probably targets, weren't they? Dave?
Huge signings. I don't think we'd be as consistent. I really don't. Morsey every week for whenever I've seen him play every week is at 8 out of 10 or better, and certainly the goalkeeper is also. So yeah, I would think we would be maybe still gelling, as it were, perhaps that whole adage. But yeah, I mean they have made such a huge difference, and yeah, certainly props to Paul Cook for getting them in. You have to say that. Who'd
be in goal at the moment, and would they have been an ever present, or would it be a case of make a mistake and you're out kind of situation?
I think that's how it would be. I honestly do.
Or we'd have gone out in January and had to sign somebody because the way Clacky started wasn't great. Holy, for 2 years wasn't great or consistent. So I think we'd have might fumbled between the two of them for the first half of the season, and then come January we'd have moved quickly to get somebody else in.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so too, yeah. Mullet, your mate Seb, from the weekend and every weekend, I'm sure. How much change do you expect McKenna to make this summer? Are we seeing a team in his image or just his ability to coach so far? That's a good question.
We discussed this. We were wondering, what does McKenna want to play? What kind of system will he want to play? And I guess the summer is when we'll actually properly find out. It's not going to be a window of 19 arrivals again, is it? I'd imagine maybe 5, 6 if you assume that we're going to release, 4 or 5 players. I think the same amount that go out will be the same amount that come in. And I guess that you could probably now hang your hat on, well, certainly the goalkeeper and the back 3. All we're going to be looking to really upgrade on is probably the left wing back position. And I'm guessing maybe 2 or 3 strikers, depending on who from that front line moves on.
Just to add this into the mix as well from Lee, this is the question I've talked about before about Pigott. Lee's got a very he's possibly in a different situation to us on Pigott. Is it time to accept it isn't going to happen for him? Cut our losses and find a whole new strike force in the summer. I mean, in terms of the personnel change turnover that Seb's referring to there, Dave, we've got Norwood out of contract, Bonds alone. Jackson, I think, is out of contract as well. There's going to be change up front, but I think we think Pigott's going to come good. Despite the fact he's got
confident.
Long-term
confidently, as you said, you confidently predict that Morsey's going to go on a goal scoring spree. I'm confidently predict that Pigott will come good in that role. Yeah, you can see it. He's a classy footballer. Just needs to add goals to it. And I don't know. Yeah, you get frustration. The Cheltenham game, we got a lot of stick after the Cheltenham game, and it was one thing when probably he took the ball off Selena's toe, and Selena probably would have scored from 7 or 8 yards. I mean, these things happen, but a mistake like that, and he got absolute pelters for that, didn't he? And football, as we say, it's all about opinions. It's all about opinions. And I think he's, as Seb said, a classy footballer, an intelligent footballer, and he'll come good for us, definitely.
And there's something I think there's a lot of issues for him. We need to talk about his off-field issues, certainly towards the start of the season. Mentally, Seb, as a striker, your judgment, your metric, your KPI is goals. And despite you working hard, and McKenna's seen it, we obviously as supporters want to see the goals scored column better, but it must be really demoralizing for him, and it just takes that one goal.
And he'll go off on a run. He's had off-field stuff since he come here. He's gone from being the main man for years at AFC Wimbledon, playing week in, week out, to suddenly having to start the season and become a bit of a bench option. And it's tough to get a run going, isn't it? You need some game time to get some consistency. You need a bit of luck, as he's finding. In the last 3 games, he's hit 4 games. He's hit the post twice, hasn't he? He just needs one to bobble in off his shin. And I'm like Dave. I'm confident he would then go on a run. And I really hope he starts against Lincoln, because I think he deserved it. His hold-up play was superb. Back to goal, he's very, very good. He was dropping deep, which would allow Chaplin and Jackson to get in behind. And I was impressed with him. I certainly wouldn't be looking to move him on in the summer unless he really, really wants to go. And I do think he'll come good.
And he'll go on. And if we were to sell him, Dave, it would be a very small undisclosed fee, I'm sure, and then he'd end up bagging loads of goals for whoever TV ended up with. Typical Ipswich, wouldn't it? It's
sod's law. No. We persevere with him, and he can only benefit from the standard of the coaching that the squad are getting at the moment. It can only benefit someone like that. He's young enough, and Seb's right. Off-field problems don't help. I think the same, not to a degree, I know from what I understand, the same with Macaulay Bonne as well. It's tough. It's really tough.
We sometimes forget that they're people, don't we? We just see the 90 minutes on a Saturday, don't we?
Mentally strong. You're playing in front of 23, 24, 25,000 as it is, every other week at Portman Road. You've got to be mentally strong. And if you're, that, I don't know, that 5-10% is not quite there, you're gonna suffer.
Yep. And we all know, I think it's a great point that you make, Seb. Human beings, and we all know what happens.
All fallible, exactly.
We all rock up at the office having got into some kind of road rage argument with some random stranger, and that ruins our day. And and all of us know better sitting in the stands, don't we? On our
It was very impressive.
podcasts.
Worth saying. I know it means nothing in reality, but in the warm up beforehand, Piggott was very, very good. Clinical. We were at Morecambe, do you remember, last week, and there was some ironic cheers because no one scored. I think someone got one, and suddenly the away end was doing ironic cheers. But yesterday they were all really steely and really focused, and I thought Piggott was superb in the warm up. I remember saying to Mullet, Piggott looks like he's on this one today.
There you go.
Yeah, that does follow. Sloppy. If you're sloppy, pre-game, it does follow in. You do carry it into the games, I'm sure. Yeah.
Was it McKenna or someone else who said repetition, 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 all that kind of stuff? Practice, practice, practice. And there's a Sir Bobby Robson quote about that in the dressing room as well, somewhere. So,
yeah.
The last couple of questions are of a statistical nature and lead on quite neatly to the roundup. John A. Not a question, but wanted to point out that it's now 1 goal conceded in over 700 minutes of football, i.e. since we conceded at Sheffield Wednesday. This season, League and Cup included, under Cook, 37 conceded from 28, which is 1.32 goals per game. Under McKenna, 5 conceded from 13, 0.38 per game. Yeah. Stark, isn't it? And it's what the guys from the Not the Top 20 were talking about, Dave, wasn't it? One of the core foundations of McKenna's success so far.
The statistics are damning, aren't they? They really are. Yeah, it's incredible, really. Just incredible. Yeah. And again, as they said on, I think as Brenner had said on Suffolk Co-Coms yesterday, you have to sort of give a nod to John McGreal for initially to get obviously for bringing Wolfenden back in the fold and
3 at the back
and kicking off with that 3 at the back. Yeah,
exactly right. Well done, Johnny Mack, doing well for the under-23s as well, coaching with Dyer. Finally, Dave Gort. Okay, here's my maths. Currently, 6th place is looking like finishing with 78 points. Sheffield Wednesday's current points per game times by 46. Our points per game since K-Mac took over will give us 21 points from the last 10. That leaves us in 77. If our K-Mac form continues, do you think 77 will be enough? Well, not to go all Rachel Riley on you, Dave, my maths...
Oh, I wish you would.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
A very poor second, backup option. My points per game for Sheffield Wednesday is 1.74, and over the course of a season, or even if you add the points they'd get from the remaining games, that puts them on 80, which I think is very comfortable for them to be in the playoffs. They're one of the form teams at the moment. Wycombe's points per game, they're currently 5th. 1.69 takes them to 78 points. So I think Ben's been pretty consistent. It's going to be a record tally needed.
Yeah.
I was looking through, ignoring the COVID curtailed season, it's never been over 74 points to get 6th. In fact, the lowest, out of interest, was in the 14-15 season in my 10-year range. And it was Paul Cook's Chesterfield. They got 69 points and got into the playoffs, losing to Preston North End. But on average, if you... including Paul Cook's 69, it's 72.6 points, 73 points rounding up to get in the playoffs. I think, guys, it's going to be... I mean, I can give you the form table over 6 games.
Just look at all that green at the top. I mean, it's nuts. Look at it.
And it's all teams going for the playoffs as well. Portsmouth, top of the form table over 6 games.
Crazy. Look at it all.
Bolton, who are behind us. Plymouth, who are still there or thereabouts. Sheffield Wednesday. Look at Cheltenham. Talked about them, Rotherham falling away a little bit.
I mean, Wickham dropping like. Oh, look at Sunderland. Look at the form of Sunderland.
Charlton haven't won a game in ages. Yeah, but
it's going to be such a tall order. Or all week. I know it's a hell of a football cliche. It literally is at this stage of the season. Let's take each game as it comes. Chalk off the W's and let's see where it takes. And that's obviously what the manager's saying. Look, let's see where it takes us. But it's going to be a superhuman effort. But as we said, I think last week, if we make the playoffs, my goodness me, we are going to have so much momentum behind us. I mean, we've had momentum under, remember the playoff Burley years, we've had momentum. But if we make it this year, I don't think any of those years will coming from where we are, even at the time. So when I think was it 97, 98 when Jono came? Yeah, 97, 98. Yeah, when Johnson came. Well, I think we started the run pretty much when he came. That was back in like November, I think. But starting to run effectively from mid-January, effectively to make it from here is, that would be unbelievable.
So there's a run of games coming up after Lincoln, which we'll talk about shortly, where we play Portsmouth, Oxford and Plymouth.
Yep.
If I put that form table back up there, that's
Yeah.
Portsmouth are top of the form table.
yeah.
Plymouth just below us in 7th. There are some teams in form there, but win those games again, psychological advantage.
Yeah, and there's I was looking at some of the run-ins, and everyone's going to be taking points off each other because a fair few of that top 7-8 teams all have to kind of play each other. So all we can do is we can't ask for any more, can we? All we can do is what McKenna's done since he come in. If we keep averaging 2 points per game, to quote a certain Mr. Diamond, will be there or thereabouts.
Well, just looking at the immediate fixtures. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday have got some quite nice fixtures coming up for them, quite that you would think. But Saturday, for instance, Plymouth away at Bolton, Wickham at home to Rotherham. Next Tuesday we're not playing Plymouth. Plymouth at home to Portsmouth. So Portsmouth have got us away, and then on the 15th they've got Plymouth away, and then on the 19th is Portsmouth Wickham. So as Seb quite rightly said, all these teams are just going to be playing each other. I mean, we're in the same boat. Obviously, we've got as we know, Oxford, Portsmouth, Oxford, etc. Or Portsmouth, Oxford, Plymouth. So it's going to be some ups and downs. Certainly some ups and downs.
10 games, isn't it, to go? It's a 10-game shootout now, so you're probably going to have to win 7 of them. You could probably allow yourself 1 defeat. So, 7 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat, and we might end up missing out with a records point tally by 1 point or whatever. But if we finish the season like that, having had 6 months, 5 months under McKenna, I think there'll be real optimism. Certainly, as fans, we'll be going into next season feeling incredibly confident compared to how we have done the last few years.
Definitely.
Here's the actual league table with Rotherham and Wigan setting the pace there. So Ipswich 9th on 56, 5 points off 6th. Sheffield Wednesday there, who have played 1 game less as well.
Ali Maxwell made the point on the show last night, didn't he? It seems incredible that Ipswich has been on this unberlievable run, yet they seem to have been 9th for ever.
You're always going to be 9th. Yeah,
it's just
worth just mentioning some results from the weekend as well. Charlton 0, Sunderland 0. Sunderland's form still stuttering there, and Charlton can't get a win. Wickham won at Crewe, and Dave, not a great afternoon for Raheem Harper, was it?
Raheem the Dream. What did he do? I mean, literally, it was a schoolboy error. I don't think he was inside his box, but played the ball square about 20, similar to perhaps 1 or 2 errors we were making at the start of the season. But anyway, didn't get caught in possession, just played a ball square straight to the opposition about 20 yards out. I think he almost took 1 touch and scored from there, but it wasn't good. And I didn't check, but I did notice at the end they followed the end of the highlights that I didn't see him on the pitch come the end of the game. So not. I think he's going brilliantly for him there.
No,
really odd one. Really not. But who's to say he comes back full pre-season under McKenna?
Never know.
Could be flying.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We've got a victory for Bolton at Gillingham. No real surprises there. Oxford, amazing form at home, just scoring goals for fun at home. 4-1 win over Burton. Plymouth beat Morecambe 2-0. Portsmouth beat Accrington 4-0. MK Dons beat Rotherham 2-1 with 10 men as well.
Pompey had 10 men as well. Harness got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think straight. I think that was a straight, so he won't be playing Saturday.
Oh, that's handy. Yep.
Yeah.
And Will Keane scored a goal for Wigan, who beat AFC Wimbledon 1-0. But the game, just to focus our attention on before we say goodbye, was Lincoln 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1, gentlemen. Lincoln up next on our final pack-out Portman Road fixture. And what do we know about Lincoln? Did you mention John Marquis?
A brace for John Marquis, wasn't it, yesterday? Good
signing from January. He's got 5 goals and 9 appearances. Anthony Scully, also key player, 9 goals, 7 assists for him. Decent fullbacks in Karen Bramwell and Brooke Norton Cuffey from Aloni at Arsenal, who scored his first goal, I think, for the club on the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. But up and down form, so patchy. Their last 2 matches sum this up. Beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-1, and they lost to Gillingham the week before. So 38 points from 34.
That sort of team,
same amount of points at home as they have away. So I think just inconsistency there. And worth mentioning as well, the last time we faced them was the 1-0 victory on the 18th of September. Our first win of the season.
Crawley Bond.
A little bit of a nudge, wasn't it?
As well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Good cross, but a bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
Controversial, but Anyway,
yeah, I mean,
thoughts on that one?
we should also mention incredible result for MK Dons yesterday away at Rotherham with 10 men. Amazing result.
Yeah, but I guess we're now at the stage if playoffs is what we want,
Got to win.
winning every game, haven't we? And
Got to win with these big games coming up now. You get that one out of the way, and then you're into the real nitty-gritty.
I tell you what, I mean, win on Tuesday, and what a game Saturday, because Portsmouth will always bring a lot, always bring a few, won't they? So it'll be a great atmosphere Saturday. I mean, good atmosphere Tuesdays as well. It's the
24
pack out Portman Road game from New Year's Day, isn't it, or over Christmas? So wow, yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
got to win.
Yep. Got to win. There you go. So if you have not got your ticket yet and you're thinking maybe I'll watch on iFollow on Tuesday, get down to Portman Road. This is the time to get involved in. As you say, if we win, then Saturday get your tickets for Portsmouth as well. It's momentum. Let's build momentum. Let's get behind the team. We will be back with our usual run of shows next week. We are currently debating, Seb, whether to do a post-match live reaction or whether to hold that until Wednesday. But we will let folk know what's going on there. What's your thinking on that one? You thinking of going for it?
I don't mind. Me and Mikey have the ability to go for it because we won't be there. But equally, I appreciate some folk like to wait 24 hours and get perhaps a more measured response. So I guess you'll fire the text out tomorrow morning and get a multitude of different options, and we can settle on something. But either way, there'll be some sort of post-match reaction either straight away afterwards or 24 hours later.
Rich's Monday morning of herding cats.
Yeah. My taking reception. With the kids. BlueMondayITFC.co.uk is where you can find all the information. Either way, we'll set out the itinerary of shows once we know what they are. If you've got an opinion on whether you want an immediate post-match reaction, we know that some people find it difficult to access that if you're driving back home. But if you'd prefer that, or if you prefer it on Wednesday in a bit more measured way, then let us know in the comments or at BlueMondayITFC. We'd love to hear from you about that. And
also,
as always,
not to spoil anything, but if it's me, it's likely to be a 0-0 draw because I am a curse for immediate post-match games tend to be a 0-0 when I'm on them. So that might sway your decision, people.
Didn't we do Wimbledon, or was that me and Dave? Me and Dave had the run of wins, didn't we?
No, I didn't do
there
that.
You go. Well,
I think
last year.
I think my previous two to that were Portsmouth and Wickham. I think.
There you go. So it'll be back on Wednesday.
Not one to crow. Not one to crow.
Dave can't go and has to do post-match straight with Mikey on Tuesday night, please.
Yeah.
So expect it on Wednesday then. But do let us know. And we always try to accommodate what folk want to make it as easy as possible for you. But it will be either way. If you can't watch it live, it will be available to access in the usual places. Pre-match show, Seb and I, we're thinking of doing that and maybe live on Friday as well. So again, if you want to give us your opinions on whether we should pre-record or do it live, we'll be doing it on Friday evening if we do it live ahead of Portsmouth. But that'll be an exciting one with plenty of attention, no doubt, on that one. And then the flagship will return as usual on Monday morning as well. So keep a lookout for all of the stuff, as I said, Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk. Thank you, everyone, if you've made it this far. Thank you for your questions. Some really good input there into the debate and some mind probing going on there. And Dave, Seb, thank you very much for your time and your opinions and insights as well. Does anyone have any astute things to sum up or say goodbye? I'll let you both say goodbye. Dave, you go first.
Do you know what? On a non-football, I think I'm going to indulge myself on a non-football thing. R.I.P. Shane Warne, an absolute great one. And I was fortunate to see him play live a couple of times, and I'm quite a big, not quite as big a cricket fan as Craig, but I'm quite a big cricket fan, and being one of my all-time favourite sportsmen. Incredible, so sad, really sad.
And one of those sportsmen that was just known for throughout the water sport, not just cricket.
Absolute freak of nature, absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, incredible. Really, really sad. Really sad. What a commentator, what a character. Cricket's lost a big character there.
There's a really great anecdote where he played golf with Kevin Peterson. If you haven't found that on YouTube, I think it's got some naughty words in it, but go and listen to that to get an idea of the man. If you weren't aware of his cricket, it was a really great story. So R.I.P. Shane Warne, great shout. Seb, do you want to follow that one?
I could echo Dave's words. Rest in peace, taken far too young. But, we've got a big week coming up. Let's hope to get 3 points against Lincoln, building up a massive weekend against Pompey next weekend. And let's see where we sit a week today.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. We'll be here. We'll hope you'll be joining us too. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And come on, you Blues.